In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NFL games happening on January 4th, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta Falcons. Both New Orleans and Atlanta are closing the season playing decent football, even though both are already out of the playoff race. The Saints, at 6-10, are on a 4-game winning streak after that 34-26 win at Tennessee, and that run includes 3 wins in their last 4 road games after opening the year with 4 straight road losses. That is a pretty sharp turnaround for a team that looked lost away from the Superdome a few months ago. Atlanta, at 7-9, has also strung together results, sidestepping that 10th loss for 3 straight weeks with victories over the Buccaneers, Cardinals, and Rams. They came out flying against Los Angeles, racing to a 21-0 lead before hanging on for a 27-24 win on Monday night as 7-point underdogs. That kind of fast start is exactly what this roster has teased all year. Back in Week 12 in New Orleans, the Falcons handled the Saints 24-10 as 2-point underdogs. Veteran Kirk Cousins made his first start of the season in place of the injured Michael Penix Jr., threw for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns, and basically did his job without drama. The Saints offense, on the other hand, never really showed up, with their only touchdown coming on an interception return. They missed 2 field goals, turned the ball over twice, and let Atlanta control the rhythm, as the Falcons now chase back-to-back wins over New Orleans for the first time since the 2016-2017 stretch. At home, Atlanta has not exactly been money as a favorite recently, dropping games to Miami by a 34-10 score and to Carolina by a 30-27 margin. Meanwhile, the Saints opened the season at 3-8 against the spread, then flipped the switch and rattled off 5 straight covers. Show has stacked back-to-back 300-plus yard passing performances against the Jets and Titans, even though he only managed a 74.1 passer rating in that first matchup with Atlanta. So there is a clear recent form versus earlier form tension baked into this line. The Falcons clearly want to close strong, and that win over the Rams showed a team that still cares about how this year is remembered. On paper, they probably do have the deeper, more talented roster. There is also real motivation on both sidelines, since the result here decides whether the Panthers or Buccaneers sneak into the postseason. Even so, we are getting points with a Saints team that has won 4 straight and covered 5 straight. The underdog is 7-2 against the spread in the last 9 meetings between these two, and 4 of those covers were outright wins. In a rivalry where margins are often thin, that hook on the spread could matter a lot. Given all that, backing New Orleans with the points to keep their cover streak alive makes sense. As our first pick for this matchup, the New Orleans Saints to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Offensively, the Falcons put up 20.9 points per game, which sits 24th in the league, and they allow 24 points per game, which ranks 20th. They gain 340.8 total yards per game, with 210.3 coming through the air and 130.6 on the ground, while giving up 325.8 yards per game, split between 127.4 rushing and 198.4 passing. So they move the ball fairly well, but the production on the scoreboard has lagged behind the yardage. The Saints' offense has been even more sluggish, averaging 18.1 points per game, good for 29th. Defensively, they give up 22.8 points per game and sit 16th in that category. They gain 311.9 total yards per game, with 218.5 passing and 93.4 rushing, while allowing 305.5 yards per game, with 125.1 on the ground and 180.4 through the air. So both attacks live in that can move the ball, but not exactly terrifying neighborhood. Put those profiles together and you get a combined scoring average of only 39 points per game. Their first meeting this season finished with 34 total points, which fits that theme. Both offenses have struggled to finish drives, both defenses are capable of getting timely stops, and nothing in the numbers screams shootout. Even with some late-season urgency and pride on the line, it is much more reasonable to expect another tighter, lower-scoring contest than some sudden track meet. So the logical lean lands on a modest total rather than a fireworks show. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Indianapolis Colts versus Houston Texans. Houston rolls into this matchup on a long winning streak, and they are not just playing for pride. They need a win and a little help from the Titans to grab first place in the American Football Conference South, so the motivation box is very much checked. This version of the Texans leans on one of the best defenses in the league, which does a lot of heavy lifting for what is, frankly, a very average offense. On the other side, Indianapolis is stuck in a nasty skid with 6 straight losses, and now they are handing the keys to Riley Leonard at quarterback. Since losing Jones, the Colts have had a hard time putting points on the board, and this spot does not exactly scream breakout game for that offense. It is already tough to fix scoring issues, and doing it on the road against this defense feels like trying to learn to swim in the deep end. Now, you can still make a case for the road underdog if you want to lean into trends. The underdog has covered 6 of the last 7 games between the Colts and Texans, so recent history in this rivalry has favored the team getting the points. Houston is also just 2-5 against the spread in its last 7 games as a double-digit favorite, which always makes laying a big number a bit uncomfortable. Those numbers are the kind that stick in a bettor's head because they whisper careful even when the matchup points one way. Still, this will be Leonard's first NFL start, and it comes in a hostile environment against what is called the best defense in the league in this matchup. That is a brutal introduction. Houston will be fully locked in as well, with a real shot to win the division and host a playoff game. It is hard to get past the picture of a first-time starter trying to read this defense for 4 quarters, and the more you think about it, the less appealing the underdog side looks, even with those historical trends. So, while the numbers pull you one way and the matchup tugs you the other, the setup still leans toward Houston having enough defensive control to win comfortably and cover as the favorite. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Texans to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Colts' running game is averaging 120.7 rushing yards per contest, which suggests they are at their best when they can lean on the ground and try to keep things steady. Defensively, Indianapolis is allowing 23.4 points and 350.5 yards per game, so they are not shutting teams down, but they are not collapsing every week either. Houston's ground game is a bit lighter at 107.4 rushing yards per contest, which still shows some balance but not a run-heavy identity. On defense, though, the Texans are giving up only 16.6 points and 272.4 yards per game. That combination, a strong defense and an offense that is not exactly a fireworks show, usually points toward more controlled, lower-scoring scripts. When you put those pieces together, you are looking at one team that wants to run the ball well and another that thrives on defense and keeps yardage and points in check. That kind of matchup often leads to longer drives, more punts, and fewer clean chances for explosive scoring. It does not rule out big plays. Football is messy, but the overall statistical picture leans more toward a modest total than a high-scoring shootout. So if you are choosing a side on the number of points, the safer expectation is for this game to stay under the projected total rather than turning into a track meet. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Dallas Cowboys versus New York Giants. The Giants beat the Raiders last week, which pretty much torpedoed their shot at the #1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and oddly enough they could get close to winning again here when they host the Cowboys. Despite their rough 3-13 record, New York has been playing much better football recently. Before that big win over Las Vegas, the Giants dropped 4 of 5 games by a single score, staying competitive against teams like the Packers, Lions, and Vikings. So the record says disaster, but the recent form says annoying underdog that will not go away. Dallas handled its business against the Commanders on Christmas Day, and a win here would lock in an even 8-1 record. Dak Prescott and the offense can reasonably be expected to stay locked in. They have the talent to put real pressure on this Giants defense. The problem for Dallas is that the defense is starting to look like it did early in the season, leaky in all the wrong spots. Even with third-string quarterback Josh Johnson starting, Washington still put up 23 points on the Cowboys. That came right after a run where Dallas allowed 34, 34, and 44 points in 3 straight games to other opponents. So while the offense can light it up, the defense has been handing out yardage and points like holiday gifts. Jackson, Dart, and the Giants are still pushing hard, which matters more than people admit this late in the season. There is a real chance we see New York drag Dallas into another tight one, and they are not completely out of the conversation to win outright if things break their way. When you combine their recent competitiveness with the Cowboys' defensive issues, getting more than a field goal with a home underdog starts to look pretty attractive. It is not that the Giants suddenly turned into a good team, it is that they have become just good enough to be annoying against a favorite that has defensive cracks. As our first pick for this matchup, the New York Giants to cover the spread is our full game side pick. Now, if the Giants are going to hang around again, they are going to have to put points on the board, not just survive on defense. The Cowboys have stayed an offensive juggernaut all season, with Dak Prescott throwing at least 2 passing touchdowns in 5 of his last 7 games and piling up the most passing yards in the league. That is the profile of an offense that can stress a defense for all 4 quarters. The Giants sit in the bottom half of the league against the pass, and with minimal wind expected at MetLife on Sunday, there is very little in the conditions that should slow Dallas down. So there is every reason to think the Cowboys will continue to cause problems through the air. On the Giants' side, Jackson, Dart has developed a strong connection with Wan'Dale Robinson, and that rapport matters when you are trying to keep up in a game with a high-powered attack on the other sideline. They do not need to be perfect, they just need to be efficient enough to force Dallas to keep scoring. The Cowboys have allowed the most passing yards and passing touchdowns in the NFL. And that recent stretch of giving up 23, 24, 24, and 44 points in their last 4 games suggests opponents have been able to move the chains and finish drives. Given that combination, New York should have chances to sustain drives of their own and contribute meaningfully to the scoreboard. Put together, those offensive strengths and defensive issues on both sides tilt this matchup toward a game where the total is more likely to be pushed over rather than held down. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Cleveland Browns versus Cincinnati Bengals. The 2 teams already knocked out of AFC North contention meet when the Cincinnati Bengals host the Cleveland Browns on Sunday afternoon in Week 18 of the NFL season. While Baltimore and Pittsburgh are trading shots for the division crown, you have to give Cleveland and Cincinnati some credit for actually showing up and competing down the stretch. The Browns upset the Steelers last weekend, and the Bengals come in riding a 2-game winning streak. Although, to be fair, beating Pittsburgh is not exactly a badge of honor this season, so that win says more about effort than about quality. These 2 rivals opened the season against each other and now close it out the same way, like bookends on the schedule. That Week 1 clash in Cleveland went Cincinnati's way in a tight 17-16 decision. Plenty has changed since then, but the key point now is that Joe Burrow is back running the Bengals offense, while the Browns are still trying to figure out what they have in Shedeur Sanders. His early returns are not awful, but they are nowhere near eye-catching either. Cincinnati has a clear edge at quarterback with Burrow under center, and they hold the upper hand in receiving production as well. The Bengals offense has put up 37 and 45 points in the last 2 games, which is a serious surge. Cleveland, on the other hand, has scored 13 points or fewer in 3 of its last 5 contests. Without Judkins, the Browns' rushing attack has taken a step back, which forces more of the load onto a passing game that has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. The Bengals have simply been the stronger team over the course of the season, with the better overall record and a home date against a Browns squad that has just 1 win in 7 road games. Cincinnati also enters in much better form, with those back-to-back wins and a 5-1 stretch against the spread in its last 6 outings. The Browns are 2-7 in their last 9 and are tagged with having the 2nd worst offense in football this season. On top of that, the Bengals have won their last 4 meetings with Cleveland, and the expectation here is that the pattern holds. Cincinnati's recent success at controlling tempo and finishing drives suggests they can pull away and build a double-digit cushion against a Browns offense that struggles to stay on the field. For all practical purposes, the matchup is framed as Cincinnati's offense facing off against Cleveland's defense, and that tilt points toward the home favorite stretching out a margin. As our first pick for this matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. These 2 teams want completely different types of games, and that shapes what we should expect on the scoreboard. Cincinnati is led by its offense, wants to play fast, and is happy to see the numbers climb on the scoreboard. Cleveland's better moments, the few it has had, come from relying on its defense and grinding out lower-scoring slogs that are ugly but effective. Taking the over in a game involving Cleveland always feels risky, and backing the under in any matchup that features Cincinnati is just as tough to swallow. Here is the thing, though, Burrow has this offense humming right now. The Bengals are averaging 41 points per game over the last 2 weeks, which is a massive number. Cleveland's defense is described as stellar, but this team has been out of the postseason race for a while. Kevin Stefanski's group played with real edge in Week 17 when it had a shot to ruin Pittsburgh's division hopes, but there is nothing like that on the line in Week 18. I am not saying the defenses will coast, but the overall urgency may not match that earlier spoiler role. Even with nothing meaningful in the standings, the Bengals sound ready to roll out their starters in this finale. After Sunday's one-sided win over Arizona, head coach Zach Taylor told the media that Joe Burrow would be on the field for this Battle of Ohio. That news pushed the spread from Cincinnati minus 6.5 to a full touchdown and helped nudge the total upward as well. Oddsmakers opened the total at 43.5 points. Since then, many books have moved up to the key area around 44, and some are already sitting at 44.5. That kind of shift usually echoes growing respect for the possibility of more scoring. The Bengals' offense is rolling, with 82 points combined over the last 2 games, which is a lot of pressure for any defense. Cleveland is still expected to pitch in on the scoreboard against what is called a bad Bengals defense in this analysis. So even if the Browns have had major issues on offense overall, the combination of Cincinnati's hot attack and Cleveland's ability to chip in points toward a total that lands above the projected number rather than below it. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Tennessee Titans versus Jacksonville Jaguars. We have a fun American Football Conference South matchup to close the season, with the Tennessee Titans heading to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars in a game that clearly means more to the hosts than the visitors. Jacksonville has caught fire in the second half, rattling off 7 straight wins and jumping right into the American Football Conference conversation. Liam Cohen's group is playing as well as anyone across the league right now, and they need a win on Sunday to lock up the division title and a home playoff game on Wild Card Weekend. So motivation is not some small side note here. It is a huge part of the handicap, because we know which sideline has everything on the line. Jacksonville's offense has turned into a well-oiled machine over the last stretch. Trevor Lawrence is in the best form of his career, and you can see it in how confidently he is throwing the ball lately. He gets to go against a Titans defense that is extremely banged up, missing multiple cornerbacks and safeties in the secondary. The Jaguars are also running the ball more effectively now, which is bad news for a Tennessee front that is already dealing with injuries and has struggled against the run all season. On the other side, the Titans' offense has improved recently, but it is still tough to picture them keeping up on the road with one of the better offenses in football when it is rolling like this. The Jaguars have simply been the far better team this year. They have 12 wins compared to the Titans' 3. They have been strong at home, and they are in outstanding current form with 7 straight victories and a 7-0 record against the spread in that span. Tennessee is 2-8 in its last 10 games and has struggled badly away from home, with what is described as the 3rd worst offense in the league. Jacksonville sits 9th on both offense and defense, with a plus 6.5 point differential, while the Titans are sitting on a minus 10 point differential. That kind of gap shows up over 4 quarters more often than not. The Titans may be playing better ball lately, but it is not enough to make you eager to step in front of this Jaguars run. Jacksonville is 7-0 straight up and against the spread in its last 7, and they have been a moneymaker all season with an 11-4-1 record against the number. They are also playing for a division crown and likely the 3rd seed, so the emotional and competitive edge is clearly on their sideline. We are not used to seeing Jacksonville as a double-digit favorite. It is only the 6th time since 2010, which feels strange on the surface. But this version of the Jags is good, is covering, and honestly looks every bit like a team that can justify that kind of number. So it is easy to lean toward a comfortable day for the home side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Jacksonville Jaguars to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This unit is extremely depleted, especially after the recent hits, and that should open the door for plenty of points from Jacksonville. Just last week, we watched the Saints and their middling offense carve up this Titans defense, which had to catch the attention of the Jaguars staff getting ready for this one. Jacksonville has played like a top 5 passing offense over the last 8 weeks, and they should have a huge edge through the air here. For Lawrence and company, this sets up almost like a tune-up game before the postseason, a chance to keep their timing sharp while facing a secondary stretched thin. On the Tennessee side, Cam Ward has been steadily improving as the season has gone along. He is not suddenly turning this group into an elite attack, but his progress does matter when we are talking about totals. The idea here is not that the Titans will match Jacksonville score for score, just that they can do enough on offense to help push this game past what is described as a relatively modest total. If the Jaguars keep humming on offense and the Titans contribute their share, you can see how the scoreboard might get busy enough for the over to make sense. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.